we're very fortunate to have our special guest tonight. He played 43 games for the Vodafone Warriors from season 2001 to 2004. Joining us all the way from France. Welcome to Warrior number 92, Justin Murphy.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for having me on here. Or bonjour, should I say? Bonjour. Bienvenue en France.
Justin, and thanks for joining us all the way from France.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. How's everything over there?
Yeah, it's still pretty complicated with COVID over here. So it's a lot of restrictions still in order over here, and they're still talking about maybe weekend lockdowns at the moment, but we've got curfews on at 6 o'clock at night. You can't do anything. You've got to be at home. I'm lucky I can still continue in my role at work. I'm working with the Catalan Dragons again and a coaching role, so I can continue doing that. But even taking the kids to school this morning, if you've got to take your children to school, as soon as you step out the door, you've got to put a mask on and have that on the whole time you're outside. So it's still a little bit complicated over here, but we're getting by.
Strange time.
We've been very fortunate over here. I think we only had a short period of time where masks were mandatory, and it's almost. I mean, I know we're aware that COVID's around, and there's still a little bit happening, but for us, it's almost business as usual again. So we're very, very lucky, very, very lucky.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it, and we'll talk a bit about your rugby league background. So you were born in Sydney, and you grew up in Narrabri, where you began playing rugby league, and you boarded at St John's College, Woodlawn, and then in year 9, you started school at St Mary's College in Toowoomba. So, after all that, my question is, are you a blue or a maroon?
Well, it's a difficult family. It causes a fair few family feuds. That my dad's a passionate New South Wales supporter. My mum's a passionate New South Wales supporter. My brother and I did go for New South Wales when we were younger, but when we moved to Queensland, we ended up playing in Queensland junior side, so we are Queensland supporters now.
Fair enough.
Shocking, absolutely shocking.
No, you made the right.
My dad still, our Origin Tommy won't talk to us.
Oh, really?
No, he won't.
It does that.
I went to an Origin decider with him at Suncorp once, and Queensland, I think they come out and smashed them in the decider, and my dad was sitting in his seat with his arms crossed, and he said, "This is the worst day of my life."
Come on, Dad, that's a big win.
Tell us a little bit about your rugby league journey growing up in Toowoomba, because a lot of famous rugby league names hail from that part of the world.
Yeah, I was lucky. My dad played rugby league in the 70s. He played for North Sydney Bears, so he played in the NRL. He played in the 76 Amco Cup final against Balmain. So Noel Kelly was his coach, so he's installed the rugby league into us from a young age. And then in Toowoomba, at Woodlawn, I went to boarding school there, and we did school, but we lived there, so we played football. Any spare time we got, it was all football. It was good. And then in Toowoomba, I was lucky. I went to another rugby league school. Joined a famous club in Toowoomba, Toowoomba Valleys, where Herb Steiner, Duncan Thompson, they're former players from there. So then at St Mary's, my school again, I was lucky enough. I went into a school. It was a renowned rugby league school. And in my grade, I had a fair few good rugby league players. And from under 14s at Valleys and St Mary's, I was with Shane Walker, who played for Broncos.
Yep.
So we're really close friends, and just we pushed each other, and it was good on the same path.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you played for the Pass Brothers in the Queensland Cup, who were a feeder club to the Broncos. Were you signed to the Broncos at that time?
Yeah. I signed at Broncos when I left school. So I was on a scholarship, which they followed us through school. And then after school in 96, I joined Broncos. It was meant to be Super League in 96.
Yeah.
And right. So we actually, a young 17, I wasn't even 18 yet, came down, did the pre-season. The Broncos first graders were still there so we were all together. So we're doing pre-season with Alan Langer, Steve Renoff, straight out of school. And then the first year the Super League got put back, so we played in the Gold Coast Group 18 competition for Beanley Bulls. So in our group we had Sean Berrigan, Lottie Takuri was around there. Had some good players, Shane Walker obviously, few good players in that group. And then that was 96. 97 Super League did come in, so we played in the Super League under 19s competition. And we played against the Warriors. I think our first game was against the Warriors. We're probably the first Super League competition that kicked off. It was at Brisbane, and it was the first game. So I think
I was at that game. Yeah.
The Warriors Broncos under 19s game was the first ever Super League.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And after that, I played 19s most of the year, and I was going pretty good there as well, scoring lots of tries there against some good teams. Travelling around then too to Adelaide, Perth, Auckland, and then I played a fair few reserve grade games for Broncos that year as well. So I've got a actual Broncos jersey with my name on the back of it and a number 26. So I've still got the jersey. Yeah.
Nice. You were signed by the Bulldogs for 99 and 2000, and you made your debut for the Dogs in 2000 against a ridiculously stacked Broncos team, scoring a try on debut. What are your memories of your first grade debut game?
Yeah, I remember I didn't even get a chance to train with the Bulldogs. I got called up. Willie Talau pulled out. So Steve Folkes, the coach, he called me. I hadn't trained with him. He said, "Oh, you're playing on the wing." Willie's pulled out. So I played, and I remember Darren Smith, because I'd known Darren Smith from Broncos. And he just said to me, all you got to do this game, just talk. Just keep talking and support. So the game I can't really remember. I remember the Broncos, they were red hot. They had Lockyer, Takuri, Sailor. They had Brad Thorne, Webke, Sivanasiva. They had a stacked team, and it was the club that I'd come from as well. So I'd liked Broncos. It was my club, and then to play against them. And Lottie Takuri was a good friend of mine. He was in my opposition that day too. So it was really good. The memory of it, I didn't even have time to get my parents down to watch the game, but the memory of just playing, it was something I always wanted to do, and I was still unsure if I'd ever get the chance to play NRL. And then to get that chance, I was rapt to play one game. It was good against a Broncos side that were the best team in the comp. It was really good opportunity for me too, but unfortunately the game didn't go how we wanted it to, and they I think they beat us fairly easily by about 30 points.
Yeah.
So, but I did get a try, which was memorable as well. And then the next day, my photos in the paper too. So it was good too. But one thing I remember about the game is Wendell Sailor had scored a try, and because Daryl Halligan was on the other wing, so Wendell had scored a try over the top of him. I jumped over for a high ball, and Daryl Halligan's nickname was the Rock. So Wendell scored the try and then chucked the ball down and said, "You're not a rock, you're just a pebble."
Classic standard from Big Dell, eh?
Yeah.
Can sledge. Yeah, he can sledge.
Yeah.
He still does, actually.
Yeah, he's a good one, but he backs it up too. So.
Yeah, he still did. Yeah, I think he got 3 tries that night from memory in that game as well.
Yeah. And Lottie got 2, I remember too. So.
Well, I actually first heard of you the season prior to that. At the end of 1999, you participated on a Footy Show event, the fastest man in Rugby League.
Yeah.
So I had a bit of a Nelson Mandela phenomenon moment there, because all these years, I just remember you winning it for some reason.
No.
But then I went back and watched it the other day just to double check. It's actually Darren Albert that wins it.
Yeah, he won easily, Darren Albert. He was a sprinter. He had a really good technique. I was a bit, I didn't have that technique, but I remember that because it was 2000. We'd lost in the semi-finals of reserve grade, and they didn't have anyone to go in the race for the Bulldogs in first grade, I think, or something. But so we'd been out after the season back then. You have a few days celebrating the season. So I think for 4 days or 3 days, I think it was a Thursday night. So the Sunday after game, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hadn't had much sleep, and I'd been enjoying myself the whole week. So the preparation for it wasn't very good before that. But anyway, it was a good experience and against some fast guys. And Darren Albert, he was just a real genuine sprinter.
Yeah, he sure was. I think. Did you come third? And Andrew Frew came second, I think. And I think you might have been third.
I can't remember, third or fourth. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But it was good. And I hadn't played first grade at that stage, and those guys had all been in first grade. So.
Yeah, so the switch to the Vodafone Warriors in 2001, how did that come about?
Well, I was at the Bulldogs still. My brother was at the Bulldogs with me, actually, in the lower grades, and he'd won 2 Jersey flag premierships. He was a 5'8", and he was playing 5'8". Braithen Astor was locking that side, and the Bulldogs really wanted him to stay, and he ended up signing with Broncos, and then I was sort of stayed there. Bulldogs had not offered me a deal, but they said I can stay and train there, so I was weighing up, well, what do I want to do? I played 1 NRL game. I still had the ambition to play NRL, and so I continued to train there for a bit, and then just out of the blue, my manager rang up and said, "Oh, the Warriors have shown a little bit of interest. Daniel Anderson knows you, but you played against him in reserve grade because he was coaching Parramatta."
Yep.
He said, "Would you be interested to come over and have just a trial game, an open trial game at the Warriors?" And I think it was at the end of 2000. And so I said, "Oh yeah, I'll be interested in that." Look, it kept my dream going. I was still training with the Bulldogs and in good shape, so I ended up going over and turned up there. There was a couple of other guys from Australia that we'd flown over for it as well, and turned up at Mount Albert. I think there was like 150 people there trying out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was an open trial. They'd got people from all over New Zealand to come and play. So I played in the game, and I think early on in the game, I'd scored a couple of really long, I think nearly 100-metre tries. So after that, I played about 15, 20 minutes, and then they pulled me off and I didn't get back on. I'm thinking, well, what's happened here? Like, I'm going all right. I want to stay on the field and keep playing to try and impress. But so I didn't get back on the field after that. And then after that, the next day, I think, my manager rang and said, "Oh, the Warriors, they were pretty impressed with you. They're going to offer you like a come over and trial and train deal. So if you're interested to do that and come over, then it'd be good." So then I said, yeah, definitely. So I moved over to Auckland at the end of 2000, and that's how it started. And then when I got there, I remember Daniel Anderson, he picked me up from the airport straight away. He was nice. He told me what he expected of me, and he wanted me to train and push the talented New Zealand guys, because I come from Canterbury, who their training ethic was phenomenal. Their mental aspect at training, they just push themselves and train as hard as they can. And he wanted me to push those talented young New Zealand boys as well. So that's how I ended up coming to New Zealand.
Yeah, you made your Warriors debut in round 8 of that 2001 season. Coincidentally, keeping in the theme of you making your debuts against your previous teams, that game was against the Bulldogs in a 24-all draw. And that year you played 9 games, predominantly at fullback and centre. What was your preferred position growing up?
Wing. I played centre and in the halves actually as a youngster. But as I got older, because I was fast, I kept getting pushed out and out. So I was actually a half in the juniors, and then got pushed out and out. But I ended up enjoying playing on the wing. I knew the role of a winger. I would have liked fullback, but I don't know. I just enjoyed the role of a winger more.
Yeah.
So, my first game was against the Bulldogs, obviously, and it was a very memorable game because we were getting beat. I think 7 minutes to go, we scored 3 tries.
Yeah.
They come back in. I got a try against them as well in that game. So
yes. Yeah, you got a try, and then I watched it back again last night, and we scored 16 points in like 4 minutes. Like to finish the game.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And then Stace, the easiest kick he had, he took his time and missed it. But
he spotted 2 from the sideline to keep up.
Yeah,
that one.
and Daniel Anderson liked it because I think I was around 3 of the tries there too in support. Like if they had got caught, I was around each of those tries. So Daniel, he told me he really liked my support from that game, and then I started the game after that, so it was good.
That was against Penrith, wasn't it? It was a big win.
Yeah, I started fullback, and it was my first actual game I'd ever started at fullback. in the NRL against Penrith. So.
Yeah. Well, in 2002, you moved to the wing sort of permanently. It really made the position your own, and you played 18 games, including the grand final. So what are your memories of that magnificent 2002 season and the run into the grand final?
I remember the players in good form: Clinton Torpy, Ali Lauatiti, Stacey was the best player in the world at that stage, I reckon. So we just had a lot of guys hitting their peak, and the form from them, it just flowed on. The energy that at training was great. We had good energy all the time. The cohesion in the team was good. We were there. We had belief in ourselves finally as well. We'd made the finals the year before, and we were going really well, and we just got into a role, and it was just a really good time to be involved with the Warriors that time. And I'm lucky to look back and to play at those guys at the peak of the career and be on the field watching those guys do what they do. It's just something I really look back fondly on.
Yeah, we had Mark Tukey on last year, and he told us that it was actually a Warangi Korpu elbow that opened up Freddie Fittler in the grand final, and not really Richard Villasanti's tackle, which everyone's thought for years and years.
I think Villa finished it off. He just jumped on top of him at the end of it. But.
Yeah. What are your memories of that? Because that was the big momentum changer in that grand final too.
Yeah, it was. I remember Stacey's try, obviously. That was a great try. I remember we were in the contest early in the game. I remember I think John Carlo and I had tackled Luke Phillips in the touch, but Bill Harrigan reckons he was already tackled and gave a penalty. Then I got an intercept in the game, and Anthony Minicello, who was the right winger, he was over my side in cover, which if he wasn't there, I probably nearly would have went nearly the length and scored. And then that was just before half time. And after that, after the tackle, I got tackled near the halfway line, and Stace has done this kick into the corner, which has gone for Francis Melly, and Francis looks like scoring just before half time. And the last bounces back to Luke Phillips, like unbelievable.
Right, yeah.
so if Francis had got that try before half time, we're upbeat going into half time, and then Stace's try after half time. I remember looking at the clock and thinking, oh, geez, we're in front here in the grand final, and we're in the second half, and it was just unbelievable. 8-6. I think, geez, we might go on with it here. And then that happened. And then after that, Fittler did a 40-20, which was my side as well, which was still, it's hard. I just still think, what could I have done better there, and trying to stop that 40-20, because after the 40-20, they scored a try, I think, off the scrum. So it's hard, but it just fired the Roosters up, and they gained a bit of momentum, and then we just couldn't stay with them.
What's that whole grand final week like leading into the grand final? Is it just absolute mayhem?
It's mayhem. It goes so quickly. You take it for granted. You think you're there, and you think, oh, geez, this is good. We're going to get here every year, and it's not like that. I was lucky. Kevin Campion, he was going back to the he'd signed to leave. He was leaving the Warriors at the end of the year, so he come and stayed with me the couple of days we got back to Auckland, and it was good because he'd been around that. He was experienced, and
yep.
He told us what to expect and how to take it. But everything went so quickly the whole week. In Auckland, I remember getting back to the airport after the Cronulla game, and the airport was packed. And I remember that they said, no, we're staying together. Everyone stay together, and we'll go out as a group. And then I remember Tooks is one of the guys, yeah, we're staying together. And then next minute we hear this cheer, and Tooks is already out there by himself.
Classic Tooks.
Yeah. No, we'll stay together, boys. And so he gets all the credit to start with. And then, yeah, but it was just an amazing experience to get back to Auckland and see the amount of people there. That was very special. Then the actual week, we didn't have much time to train for the week and prepare for the Roosters. I'd never played against the Roosters myself. I hadn't even played any games against the Roosters, and my first game against them was the NRL Grand Final.
Yeah.
Then,
I don't want to step on your toes, Rob, but we've just got a couple of comments coming up from the live feed. CJ from the Final Tackle podcast has asked, what about the video the day of the grand final? The CEO or coach or someone to put together of the Warriors being winners?
Or the halftime
halftime speech or something?
Yeah, I can't remember the halftime speech. I think it was on the way to the game, on the bus on a tape recorder. But I do remember it, and it was Broncos playing us because so it wasn't even us playing the Roosters. But I do remember that. But I just think Endo, he's a very intelligent coach. I think he was thinking of some positive way to impact us to push ourselves and have that installed in our head that we're going to win the grand final, not just play in the grand final. So I think that was a motivational ploy by him, but obviously some of the players didn't respond to it. And but if it worked, everyone would have thought he was a genius, but have we won? But we didn't win. And unfortunately, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, well.
Yeah.
Was there another question there, Hammer?
No, mate. No, you keep going. I'll just keep. I'm not being rude by looking away, Justin. I'm reading the live comments that are coming up on the screen as we're going.
No worries.
Well, after the 2002 grand final, obviously we had as you touched on earlier, a very good season in 2003 as well. But 2003 to 2004, you were sort of in and out of the team, and there was a lot of big names that departed in 2004. So what do you put the big form slide down to for the whole club? I mean, from like 2003 to 2004, there was a great big dip in form there. What sort of went on there?
Yeah, 2003, it was again, we had another really good season. There was good competition for positions. I had Henry Farfili and Francis Melly in my spot, so two international players. Farfili, I think he scored a hat-trick against England on the end of season tour after 2002. So the competition there was really good. So it was hard for me to get in the team that year. But again, 2003, if you watch the semi-finals, Canberra Raiders, Warriors, that semi-final actually took a lot out of the Warriors for the week after. So Penrith had come against the Warriors after that very physical game. The boys were very tired after that Raiders game in the finals. And then to play Penrith the week after, which they had chances in that game against Penrith to win the game again too. But fatigue at the end, it played a factor, and they ended up not winning that game, because if they won that game again, they would have been in the grand final again. So 2 years in a row. Right. And a lot of people just think about Penrith winning the grand final and talk about that, but they don't think about how fatigued the Warriors were before they played Penrith.
Yeah, it was a tough game against the Raiders, wasn't it? When last Stacey Jones field goal and
and it took so much energy out of the boys.
And the Penrith game was close too. We only lost by 6 or 8 points in that game.
Yeah, and we had chances to win that game as well, but Penrith played well, obviously. But I just think that if the Canberra game wasn't as hard the week before, then maybe we could have got a better result in that game as well. And then 2004, I think we changed the tactics of the training a little bit. I remember that because Penrith had won, I think the Warriors thought we all have to get bigger and put weight on, and so we didn't do much running. I remember doing a lot of swimming, a lot of weights. I'll look at photos back of me now and I'll look like I don't know. It's funny to look back at some of the photos, the headshots back of 2004. And then just once we started playing footy, it was hard. Like I'd lost a bit of speed probably, or couldn't move around as quick, which speed was my main attribute. So lost a bit of speed, and then it was, and I wasn't the only one. A lot of guys had lost a few things, I think, too, and it ended up showing in the results. Then we got under a bit of pressure because we weren't performing like we had the previous few years. And then Daniel Anderson had left the club as well, which Daniel, and I'd never been in a club with a coach leaving mid-season like that as well. So that did affect a lot of things as well, made things difficult. And then I think at the end of 2004, I was in contact. I was nearly going to re-sign again. Mick Watson had said they were going to have something for me, and then at the end they went a different way, and I'd ended up at the end of the season there was not many games left, so Tony Kemp was coaching, and I had an opportunity to go and play in a New Zealand Rugby Union invitational side at Twickenham in England. They'd asked me to go and play, and I'd never been to England, and I wasn't in the Warriors' plans, and they weren't playing me, so I asked the club if they'd be willing to let me go and do that, and they said, yeah, no worries. They let me go. It was all paid for, so I thought, oh, this is good. I'll get to go to England, go to London, do a bit of a trip and play in a rugby sevens comp. And then when I arrived in London, my phone went off, and I had a few Super League clubs straight away ringing me asking if I'd be interested in finishing the season with them. So my original plan was just to go there and have a bit of a play in this rugby sevens tournament and stay and have a bit of a holiday. Mark Tukey was there, so I went up and stayed with him, or called a train up and stayed with him for a week and was having a bit of holiday. Then I ended up signing with Widnes Vikings, but I didn't have a visa to play sport. I was only on a holiday visa, so I had to go to Dublin to get a visa to play sport to come back. So I went to Dublin by myself for a week. Stayed in a €20 hostel a night place by myself. I think if you've stayed in a hostel, there's bunk beds and everything in there. I was in a room with 2 Russians and these, I don't know who they were, strangers I'd never met. So, and then ended up staying there a week by myself, getting the visa passed, arrived back to Widnes, I think maybe on a Wednesday, and played that weekend for Widnes. And Frank Endicott was coaching us.
It was, I was going to say you moved to England in 2004 and ended up at Widnes. It was 2006 where you went to the Catalan Dragons. Did I pronounce that right? Is it Le Catalan?
Yeah. I'd actually, before I went to Widnes, I'd already signed and agreed with Catalan Dragons because I wanted to come to France because Justin Morgan was coaching over here. I'd played with at the Warriors, and I just thought in my head I'd rather come to France than England to play. So I spoke with Morgs, and he had no positions left with him, but he said, I'll ring this other guy. So I rang the coach of UTC now, Steve Deacon, and I talked to him and ended up agreeing with him. And UTC is the club that went in to form the Dragons, so it worked out well for me.
Yeah. That first year in Le Catalan, you played 28 games, you scored 26 tries, so got back to your try-scoring feats. How much did you enjoy the move, and did you speak French before you went to France?
No, I didn't. I loved the move. I moved over with there was a couple of other Australian guys at the same time. There was Chris Beattie, Sean Rudder, and Matt Bickerstaff, who'd all played NRL.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we came over at the same time and we're living in the same place. So I was very excited about coming to France. I remember the first time I walked into the store to the local patisserie to get a baguette. I've walked down, I was excited. I've seen these people going, oh, bonjour. And they said bonjour back to me and started talking, and I had nothing. I couldn't do anything. I've just gone, oh. So then, I knew nothing. So then I had to start learning the language, new culture and a new language, and adapt to French life, which, it was a little bit daunting to start with, but it ended up well.
Yeah, you played 5 seasons at Catalan, and you even represented France in 6 internationals as well, winning 4 of them. So how did you qualify to represent France? Was that just residency?
Yeah, back then it was 3-year residency rule. So I'd been here for over 3 years. At the start, I was a bit reluctant to play with the French team because obviously I wasn't French, but I'd married a French girl, so I had a French wife, and then I thought, well, I've got a French wife. I'm going to have children. They're going to be French and Australian. So it's something that my kids would be proud of, to see that their father had represented France, because they're French and Australian as well. So that's the main reason. Before that as well, I spoke to a few of the older French boys about the reasons why I wanted to play for France, and they accepted those reasons as well, because if they hadn't accepted them, I probably wouldn't have played as well, because I don't want to take the position of a young French guy for no reason.
Yep.
But I was fortunate enough to play for France. It's something I'm proud of, to play international footy. And we played against the Kiwis in Paris and Papua New Guinea, and had some good memories playing with the French boys.
I was going to say, what's your greatest memory representing France?
I think the Paris game against the Kiwis, we were close to beating them. I think Louis Anderson might have scored a try in the last couple of minutes. Wasn't there? Yeah, they scored 2 tries. I think Thomas Lulawa set a try up in the last couple of minutes, but we were ahead. It looked like we might have had a very memorable victory, but we pushed them really hard, and they got it at the end. They got the victory at the end. So, but the Kiwis, it was good to play against them because they weren't at their top then. They ended up winning the World Cup the year after, but it was good to play against them.
Yeah, that was yeah. So you're also unfortunately remembered for a very nasty accident that occurred on the field in 2007. So what happened there, and what were the extent of your injuries?
Yeah, I remember at Wigan, we were playing a game at Wigan, and Wigan is it's a good stadium, but it's a football stadium, so the in goals are really small there. So I remember playing footy. I was just trying to do what I can for the team, and Stace had put up this kick, a high kick, and I thought, oh, I'm going to score off this kick. So I was just looking at his kick and chasing the kick, and I was moving fast, running as fast as I could, chasing this kick, thinking that I'm a chance to score. And then at the end of it, I remember looking at the barrier and thinking, oh, geez, this barrier's coming up pretty quick here. I better try and do something. And I tried to jump, and it's hit the top of my leg, and I've just tumbled into the grandstand. So I remember thinking, geez, I'm in a bit of trouble here. And then I've landed in the concrete, moved around, hit around, somersault in there, landed on the stairs on my back. I think my head might have hit first, if you look at it, and then tumbled around, and then my ribs and back hit it as well. So then the medical staff come over. There was no one in the grandstand, luckily, but the medical staff come over and they checked me, and I felt all right. My head was fine, nothing happened there, but I just felt a little bit of pain in the back there, but I felt all right. I could jump back on the field and I could move in that, and so I continued to play, and I ended up playing the whole game. But I think not long after that, again, Trent Barrett had put a kick in behind me, and I'd got the kick and was coming back, and David Voilecki come in, and his knees ended up hitting me in the same spot as well. So I was in a lot of pain. I could hardly move, but I played the whole game, which I probably should have came off, I think, because we lost by about 30 points that game too. So I should have just surrendered and come off. But I finished the game, and then after that, we got back to England, to the hotel. And normally after a game, I was keen to go down and just relax and have a few beers with the boys after a game and talk about the game. But that night I just couldn't. I just went straight to bed. I was gone, and then woke up in a fair bit of pain that night. Knocked on the got the doctor up to the room, and so then I ended up having really badly bruised kidneys and broken ribs.
Oh,
so it was pretty dangerous. So when once I got back to France, I had scans and everything, and they said, "Oh no, this is pretty dangerous. Your kidneys are really bruised, badly bruised, and then your ribs are." I think I had 4 broken ribs as well. And they said, "Oh, you're lucky because it's pretty dangerous. If you get hit properly there, you could nearly die again too." So,
wingers aren't supposed to be that tough, mate.
No, I know. I should have went off. We're meant to be smart though, but yeah.
You finished your career at the end of 2008 season. Did you go straight into coaching when you finished, or
I stayed here 1 year? So 2009, I stayed another year over in France. So I played in the Elite One competition, but then I got into coaching with our young under-19 team in the Catalans as well. So I did start coaching in 2009 straight away. Lauren Fresnus was the head coach, and I was the assistant helping him with the under-19s. And we had some good young players in that group there that are playing still now. Eloa Palicia, he was one of the boys. Morgan Ascari is playing now as well. There were 2 of the young boys in that group there that are still playing good footy now. And it was good to get into coaching and to start that in France in a different language. I thought it was a good opportunity to do in a good experience again too. So, yeah.
So what team are you currently coaching at the moment?
I'm Saint Esteve Tres Catalan, which is the Catalan Dragons reserve team.
Yeah, we did our research. We actually knew who it was. We just didn't know how to pronounce it.
Saint Esteve Tres Catalan.
Yeah. Okay. What he said. Yes. You obviously enjoy that French lifestyle too. For those that don't, get on Justin's Instagram and follow him on Instagram, because the pictures he puts up there are just absolutely amazing. Are you is living in France like a long-term thing for you, or do you have a desire to get back to Australia and maybe coach if a position came up that suited you?
Well, at the moment, I'm pretty well established in France. My wife's French, all her family are here. The kids are at school, and I'm enjoying the life back here at the moment. So I'm enjoying learning as a coach as well. I've got Steve McNamara as the head coach here. We've got some good players involved at the Dragons. I'm enjoying the experience of learning, but I'm also enjoying the experience of developing younger French players as well. I also go to colleges. I've been to primary schools as well, doing rugby league. So I've been, since I've been back doing rugby league with kids that have never played at 7 years old, up until helping out the Dragons players that are playing in Super League. So it's been a really good experience for me and a good involvement to try and pass on some of my knowledge to the young French boys as well.
Yeah. Do you follow the NRL from France? And do you keep up?
Yeah, definitely. I watched all the trial games last weekend. I follow the games all the time. Try and stay in contact with people involved at the clubs as well. So I do stay involved with the NRL, and yeah, I'll send try and get information off people that are still involved in the NRL as well. Like Daniel Anderson's at the Roosters, and Kevy Walters is at the Broncos. So we'll touch base with those people as well.
And your old schoolmate is the CEO of the Warriors?
Yeah. So I went to boarding school with him. I think he probably bullied me a bit because I was a young grade 7 kid and he was in grade 10, I think. And it's funny how things work out and things align. But yeah, we went to boarding school together at Woodlawn. So.
Yeah. And you've also got, you're saying you played with Morgs, and Morgs is now part of the coaching squad here at the Warriors as well. So do you watch the Warriors games? Do you still have a soft spot for the Warriors?
Yeah, definitely. I go for the Warriors still. I always cheer them on, and it's good. It's good to see them. They've been under difficult being away from home, and I understand how hard it's been for them being away from home too, because I'm away from my family in Australia. At this time, it's been really difficult because we can't travel, and I don't know when I'll get to see them again as well. So it's been hard for me. So I totally understand how the Warriors' difficulties are being away from their family, and also not playing at home in Auckland in front of fans as supporters. It's difficult as well.
Yeah, we had a brief chat before we went on air tonight, just about COVID. COVID obviously has affected the entire world. Here in Australia, we're a little bit fortunate with our protocols that are put in place. Just explain to everyone what's going on over there in Europe, and in particular France with COVID.
So in France at the moment, we've got a strict curfew from 6 o'clock at night until 6 in the morning. You're not allowed outside. You've got to be in your house. You can't have large gatherings. If you walk outside, it's compulsory to have the mask on. I took my children to school. I've got to wear the mask walking down the street to take them to school. The kids have to have the mask at school all the time. My youngest is 7 years old, and she has to have the mask on at school the whole day. So it's pretty hard for children. My eldest has started college this year, and she's got to have the mask on. So I said, it'll be strange once they've got to take the mask on. She won't know some of her classmates probably what they look like. So, but they're also talking still at the moment about having weekend lockdowns over here. So hopefully that doesn't come into case. But the COVID, it's still very real over here. There's, I think, 20,000 cases a day in France. So it's still very complicated, but we're trying to adapt the best we can and getting by and trying to live life. That's why a lot of my Instagram, we try and get out to places in the nature, try and get out, get fresh air, do what we can do, and try and still not be limited in what we can do, live our life, which it's a big part of the French, their liberty. They feel at the moment they've lost a bit of their liberty. So we're still trying
when the Super League season kicks off, there'll be no crowds? Is that the plan?
Yeah, at the start, they're trying to, at the start, it's still complicated, but I don't think England will have crowds. So we're still unsure what the Dragons are going to do, if we're going to have to base the first grade players or squad in England, or hopefully we can find something. But it's still complicated now as well, and especially with Brexit as well now too. So, yeah, I think they're hoping to have crowds back sometime during the season, but at the start of the season, it doesn't look like that. And Catalans, unfortunately, they haven't played many home games in 2 years now, so they're similar to the Warriors. They've got to play all their games in England, and it costs a lot of money. And our president, Bernard Gouache, he hires a private jet for each game to go to England and come back. So yeah, it's complicated still over here, and sports copped a big knock up financially, I think, over here as well.
Yeah. I know last year when when the Warriors were based in Australia, and there was a couple of rounds there where there was no crowds, which was weird to watch on TV. But as soon as crowds were allowed in, I know there was a lot of us that took the opportunity to get back to live games, and it was one of those things that you just took for granted that you could always do. But when it was taken away from you, it just became so important to make sure that you get to the games and support the teams. And I guess I'm lucky because I live in Sydney, not far from the Central Coast where the Warriors are based again for this season. So I get to, because every year living in Australia, getting to watch the Warriors, it's a kind of thing where you may only get 4 or 5 games to see them play live. Whereas, last year I was able to watch, I think, 9 games of footy, and this year again, it's going to be a lot. And I do feel for our, brothers and sisters back home in New Zealand who can't get to watch them play live. Very, very difficult.
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's important. It's important the Warriors, they do have really good support in Australia, so it's important that support gets out and supports them and helps them while they're there in this difficult time at games too this year, because they definitely thrive on that support they get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll just quickly, going back to your time at the Warriors, just got a few sort of quick questions here. Who was your toughest teammate at the Warriors?
Toughest? There's two of them, Campion and Monty Beetham.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Monty. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Campion.
Monty was someone, he gave you confidence. You loved having him in your side. If Monty was in your side, it was confident. It was good for a winger because if you had Monty, you could talk up a bit because he'd look after you.
Yeah. Well, in your debut game for the Warriors, he dusted up Steve Reardon, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't. Steve Reardon, he's a lovely bloke too, but yeah, he got a bit cranky, Monty, in the heat of the moment, and yeah, I don't think many people would try and upset Monty.
No. So, what team did you hate playing against?
Hate playing. Everyone hates Manly, but
Yes.
I didn't like Manly. I love playing against the Broncos, but back then we the Warriors always got up for Broncos games. I think 2001 was the first time we beat them, and then we'd had good competition against the Broncos, and we won more often than not in that era as well. So it was good. And for me, coming from up there, was I loved playing Broncos, and the support that we got in Brisbane was more than Broncos got there at the games.
Yeah. Who was your most annoying teammate?
Oh, annoying. PJ was a little bit annoying. He was good though, but he was a little bit annoying. Most annoying teammate was probably at the Broncos was Sean Berrigan, and the Duke coming through with him. He's a good friend of mine, but he was annoying.
Fair enough. Who was your most competitive opponent?
Oh, I had lots of competitive opponents. I remember one I hated playing against was over here was Leslie Vonicolo. He was so big.
Yeah.
I played against him in under 19s, and then played against him in England a few times. He was at Bradford, and they had a really good side, and I didn't enjoy playing against Vonicolo.
Yeah, right. Can understand that.
I'm just scrolling through the things now. Paul Smith said, has Justin noticed that you're wearing the O2 jersey tonight, mate?
Yeah, I wore it especially for all our 2002 teammates. Always bring out the classic threads.
Nice.
So,
it's nice. It's still good. It's retro now, but it's still good. I like it. Yeah.
It's crazy. I think it's almost 20 years ago now. I do have one question here. This is from my mate Will Evans, who runs This Warriors Life. So shout out to you, Will. He said, "Were you the fastest player during your time at the Warriors?"
Yeah, I think so. I can't really remember the times of that, but no, I'd say I was the fastest there. Yeah. No one could beat me in a race there. So.
You had it over Henry Coffey and
Torpy would be the one that would be closest in speed, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Torby was quick, but I think I was quicker than all of them boys. They were quick, but yeah.
I'd believe
Brand Webb was another one that was quick.
Yeah, old Twinkle Toes, yeah.
Well, just on that, Paul Smith said, "I'll never forget the Murph running down the Peach in the 2002 semi. Huge play.
Yeah, he got an intercept, Peachy, and he had a fair bit of run. I had to turn around and chase him, but I did get him because if he had scored, it would have been a bit hard for us, I think. But yeah, I ended up getting him, turning around, chasing, getting him, and at the end of in those games, because I'd been injured, I'd missed the game against Canberra Raiders in the semis at Auckland, the first semi game. I'll come back in that game, and my speed wasn't at 100% still, but to turn around and get him, and that's same as the grand final, because I'd come back from an adductor injury, and even in the grand final, my speed wasn't at 100%. So that's something I really think, if my speed at that time was 100%, I think I might have scored that try still too. That's something I do look back on all the time as well.
You would have iced that intercept.
Yeah.
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 There was a massive Warriors crowd too at that Cronulla game because
definitely Eric.
I don't know if it was Mick Watson or Eric Watson had bought like 10,000 tickets, and if you had a New Zealand passport, you just had to rock up and you get 4 tickets. So
it was unbelievable, the atmosphere there, and it was good.
It was awesome. Yeah, I loved it. What's the funniest sledge you've heard or received? Apart from the Wendell Sailor Pebble sledge to Halligan.
That was a good one. I've heard some very good ones. I've got a few. At the end of my career, I captain coached in Toowoomba at Valleys, and there's a few really good sledges there, and they're from my team, my club as well, but they'd sledge us. So there's a bloke there, Glenn Reardon. He's a very good sledger, and Robbie Moore. They're both fellas from Toowoomba Valleys, and they'd sledge their own team better than anyone else would.
Who was the best sledger that you ever heard on a field?
On a field sledging.
Yeah. Can be either teammate or opposite.
I can't remember much of the sledging.
Too far out, standing on the
wing. PJ was a good sledger too. I remember him giving some players a hard time, and PJ Marsh, he gave some players a good hard time. But yeah, I can't remember much sledges. But
and what's on the agenda for today, mate? What do you got coming up now? Because it's what is it there? It's 11:30.
11:30. I've got Buff Bourguignon for lunch today. It's a day off today, so we're just doing a bit of planning. We've got our first Catalan Dragons trial on this weekend. It's on Saturday night. The Catalans are playing against the selection of the best French players in the French competition. So that's our first trial. So from my team, I think we've got 14 players playing for the Dragons or the Tres President. So today's a day off, and then just a bit of planning, watching some video on some games today and some players, individual players. But today's, a bit of a lighter day.
When does
the weather's not too good today, actually.
When does the Super League kick off? When's the first round?
End of March, I think it'll be at 3 weeks.
Okay. So it's probably
4 weeks in. I think it's the 27th of March. Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, we want to thank you for giving up your time and coming and chatting with us today, mate. It's been great. As I said to you before, we went on, the fans love hearing the stories from the players of yesteryear, and the 2001 to 2003 era at the Warriors was a great era. Something you should be very, very proud of.
It's good. I really appreciate the support too, because back then, obviously, we didn't have the social media and stuff that we do these days. So the support and the interaction is something that we never got to do, but we certainly appreciated all the support that we did get, and we continue to get now. And like I said, the Warriors are still, I'm a Warriors supporter now myself. Whenever I could get to games, I'll get to them. Whenever I could get to the Old Boys Day in Auckland, I'd always get to that as well. And we've still got a lot of the group that we had there. We're still really close now. So when we see each other and be around each other, it's like we've never been away, and it's 20 years now. So it's something special.
Rugby league's great like that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
The people you meet and the friends that you make, it's they're lifelong bonds. Mate, we'll definitely get you back on later in the season. You can give us an update on how things are going over there with your side, and we can chat all.
We're second on the table, and our team's second on the table this year at the moment. So hopefully we can go on to see challenge for the title. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks again, Justin. Appreciate you coming on, mate, and we'll chat real soon.
Oh, another one. Just tell Louis Anderson I'm living in Louis Anderson's house here in France. So just tell him that I'm really looking after his house well as well.
All right,
Okay.
we'll pass on that message.
I've got Louis on Facebook, so yeah, I'll let him know. I'll say we had Justin.
His house is in really good hands here. Good place.
I'll just say there was a party going on in the background. I don't know what he was doing.
No worries.
Thanks, Justin.
Justin.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Take it
Cheers,
easy.
mate.
See ya.
Cheers.